The moment you stop living in your head, everything changes. Right now, this very moment, you are standing at the edge of your life, not tomorrow. Not when you are more confident, more prepared, or less afraid. Right now, yet most people never step forward. Not because they are incapable, but because they are trapped, locked inside their own thoughts, replaying the past, rehearsing the future, and missing the only place where life actually happens. Here, your mind has become a cage, a loud one, a convincing one, but a cage nonetheless. You think constantly, yet live rarely. You analyze every step, yet never move. You wait for clarity, but clarity only comes after action. This is the great illusion, believing that thinking will save you, when in reality it is thinking that keeps you stuck. The moment you stop living in your head, everything changes, because life does not respond to ideas. Life responds to presence. When you are lost in thought, you are weak, not because you lack strength, but because your energy is scattered. Your body is here, but your attention is everywhere else. Imaginary conversations, imagined failures, imagined victories, none of them real, none of them useful. The mind is a powerful tool, but a terrible master. It constantly asks, what if I fail? What if I'm judged? What if I'm not enough? And as long as you obey these questions, you remain frozen, safe, small.
How to breathe, how to stand, how to move forward even when fear is present. When you bring your awareness back into your body, into your breath, your posture, your actions, you step out of fear and into reality. Fear cannot survive in the present moment. It needs imagination to exist. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about anchoring yourself to reality. When you train your body, you train your mind to obey. When you face physical discomfort, mental excuses lose their power. When you train your body, you train your mind to obey. When you face physical discomfort, mental excuses lose their power. When
You do what is difficult on purpose, confidence stops being something you hope for and becomes something you embody. You don't need more motivation, you need less noise. Silence the constant commentary. Stop narrating your life and start living it. The strongest people are not those who think the most, they are those who act despite their thoughts. Understand this, your thoughts are not commands, your emotions are not instructions, they are signals, and you decide whether to follow them. Growth begins the moment you stop negotiating with weakness. You already know what you should do. You've always known. The problem was never lack of knowledge. It was lack of courage to act without certainty. Certainty is earned after movement. So stand up straighter, breathe deeper, take responsibility for your energy, your habits, your direction. Every time you choose action over thinking, you reclaim a piece of your life. Every time you face discomfort instead of avoiding it, you sharpen yourself. Every time you return to the present moment, you step into your power. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about removing everything that is not you. The doubt, the hesitation, the endless internal debate. What remains is clarity, strength, purpose. And now comes the question that matters most. What are you going to do today? Not someday, not when you feel ready. Today, take one action that aligns your body and mind. Train without waiting for permission from others or from your own fear. Step out of your head, step into your life, because the moment you do, everything changes. Most people believe their thoughts are who they are. Every idea, every doubt, every memory feels personal, important, urgent. But this is where the trap begins. The mind never stops talking. It replays old mistakes, imagines future threats, compares you to others, and judges every move before you even make it. You wake up already thinking, already tense, already behind. Over time, this constant mental noise becomes your normal state, and you mistake it for intelligence, awareness, or control. Fighting imaginary battles that never end. Thoughts are fast, repetitive, and emotionally charged. They pull you away from what is actually happening. Your body might be standing in a room, but your attention is somewhere else entirely. In that state, you are easy to control by fear, by habit, by comfort. The mind exaggerates danger and minimizes potential. It turns small risks into massive threats and convinces you that staying the same is safer than growing. This is not wisdom, it is self-preservation
taken too far. The problem is not thinking itself. The problem is identification. The moment you believe every thought is true, you surrender authority. You stop choosing and start reacting. A thought appears, I'm not ready, and you obey. Another appears, this might fail, and you retreat. Over time, this obedience becomes automatic. You don't even question it anymore. You call it your personality, your past, your nature. But thoughts are not reality. They are interpretations. They come and go, often contradicting each other. If you observe closely, you'll notice that many of your strongest doubts have no solid foundation. They are echoes of past experiences, borrowed opinions, or imagined outcomes. Yet they dictate your actions as if they were facts. This is how potential gets buried, not by lack of ability, but by unquestioned inner dialogue. Stepping out of your head means shifting attention away from endless analysis and back into direct experience. Into your breath, your posture, your movement, your immediate task. When awareness drops into the body, the mind loses its grip. It doesn't disappear, but it quiets. You stop arguing with yourself and start doing. Fear may still be present, but it no longer dominates, because it is no longer amplified by imagination. In that state, action becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You respond to what is in front of you, instead of what might happen later. The present moment demands effort, not explanation. It asks for engagement, not excuses. And the more time you spend grounded in what you are doing, rather than what you are thinking, the less power unnecessary thoughts have over your behavior, your discipline, and your direction. The body is grounded in reality in a way the mind can never be. It does not speculate, doubt, or hesitate. It responds, it breathes when air is needed, tightens when danger is present, relaxes when safety returns. Long before thoughts form, the body already knows what is required. Yet most people have learned to ignore this intelligence. They sit still while their minds race, disconnected from posture, breath, tension, and fatigue. This separation weakens them. When the body is neglected, the mind becomes loud and uncontrollable. Physical presence is not about strength alone. It is about awareness. When you feel your feet on the ground, your spine aligned, your breath steady, you are no longer lost in abstraction. You are here. And in the present moment, excuses lose their persuasive power. The body does not care about your internal debate. It responds only to what you do. This is why grounding yourself physically creates mental clarity. Action organizes the mind more effectively than endless reflection ever could. Discipline begins in the body. Waking up on time, holding discomfort a little longer, maintaining posture when tired, breathing steadily under pressure. These small physical decisions train you to stay present when resistance appears. They teach you that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but a signal to focus. Over time, this rewires how you respond to challenge. Instead of collapsing inward, you stabilize outward. When the body is trained, the mind follows. Confidence is not built by repeating positive thoughts. It is built by evidence. The body creates that evidence through consistent action. Every time you move despite resistance, you send a clear message. You are capable of acting without permission from fear. This changes your internal hierarchy. The mind becomes an advisor, not a dictator. Avoidance weakens the body-mind connection. Comfort dulls awareness. When everything is easy, the mind invents problems. But when the body is engaged in effort, attention sharpens. There is no space for unnecessary thoughts. When you are fully involved in movement, work, or controlled struggle, presence becomes unavoidable. This is why structured physical challenge has always been a foundation for mental resilience. It brings you back to something real, something immediate, something honest. The body also reveals truth. Fatigue exposes habits. Tension reveals resistance. Shallow breathing reveals fear. These signals are not flaws. They are information. Ignoring them keeps you unconscious. Listening to them brings alignment. When you adjust how you stand, how you breathe, how you move, you change how you think without arguing with yourself. Living through the body restores simplicity. One task at a time. One breath at a time, one movement completed fully. This is not regression, it is refinement. Complexity in the mind often comes from lack of engagement with reality. The more present you are physically, the less you need to escape mentally. Thought becomes quieter, sharper, more useful. Strength in this sense is not aggression or dominance. It is stability, the ability to remain present under pressure, to stay connected to the body when the mind wants to flee into stories, to continue acting when motivation fades. This grounded presence is what allows real change to take root, because it is built on direct experience rather than imagination. Action is the dividing line between who you imagine yourself to be and who you actually become. Most people remain trapped in preparation, believing that one more plan, one more insight, or one more burst of motivation will finally push them forward. But preparation without movement slowly turns into avoidance. The mind becomes comfortable, thinking about change instead of experiencing it. This creates the illusion of progress while keeping everything exactly the same. Overthinking feels productive because it gives a sense of control. You can explore every possible outcome without risking anything. But this safety comes at a cost. Each time you hesitate, doubt strengthens. Each time you delay, fear gains evidence. The longer you wait for certainty, the harder action feels. What was once a simple step becomes a mental mountain built from imagined consequences. Action cuts through this instantly. It interrupts the endless internal dialogue and forces clarity. When you move, feedback appears. You discover what works, what doesn't, what needs adjustment. This information can only come from doing. The mind alone cannot generate it. This is why action creates confidence, not because success is guaranteed, but because uncertainty is reduced. You replace speculation with experience. Fear survives in stillness, feeds on imagination and repetition. Once you act, fear has to adapt to reality. Often it shrinks. The outcome is rarely as extreme as the mind predicted. Even when things go wrong, the damage is usually manageable. But the mind never accounts for this. It magnifies risk and ignores resilience. Action reveals that you are more capable of handling consequences than you believed. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small, repeated actions build momentum. Each step lowers resistance to the next. This is how discipline forms, not through force, but through rhythm. When action becomes routine, motivation becomes irrelevant. You stop asking whether you feel ready and start acting because it is simply what you do. This removes emotional fluctuation from decision-making. Waiting to feel confident before acting is backwards. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. It is built from evidence gathered over time. Every completed task, every uncomfortable step taken reinforces self-trust. This trust cannot be imagined or formed into existence. It must be earned through behavior. Action also simplifies identity. Instead of asking who you are, you observe what you do. Your habits tell the truth. They reveal priorities more honestly than intentions. By changing your actions, you change the narrative without needing to convince yourself. The mind eventually aligns with repeated behavior. There is also humility in action. You accept that you don't know everything. And
you learn through mistakes rather than avoiding them. This keeps you adaptable. Overthinking seeks perfection before movement. Action accepts imperfection and improves through iteration. The longer you delay, the more energy is wasted resisting what needs to be done. Starting is often the hardest part. Once movement begins, resistance decreases, the body engages, attention narrows, and momentum carries you forward. This is not willpower, it is physics applied to behavior. Every moment presents a choice: remain in thought or step into experience. The choice to act grounds you in reality. It brings you out of hypothetical futures and into tangible results. Over time, this choice reshapes how you relate to fear, effort, and uncertainty, because action becomes the default response instead of hesitation.
And
The people believe discipline is something harsh, restrictive, and imposed from the outside. They associate it with punishment, force, or denial. Because of this misunderstanding, they resist it before they ever practice it. But true discipline is not about controlling yourself through pressure. It is about creating structure that removes unnecessary decisions. It simplifies life by reducing mental negotiation. When discipline is in place, you no longer ask whether you should act. You already know the answer. Lack of discipline creates chaos in the mind. Each task becomes a debate. Each challenge triggers emotional bargaining. You waste energy deciding what to do instead of doing it. Over time, this constant decision-making drains focus and weakens resolve. Discipline eliminates this friction. It turns deliberate actions into habits, and habits into identity. What once required effort becomes automatic. Discipline is built through repetition, not intensity. Small, consistent actions performed daily shape behavior more effectively than rare bursts of effort. The mind may resist at first, searching for comfort or novelty, but repetition trains it to accept reality. This acceptance is powerful. When you stop expecting things to feel easy or exciting, you become steady. Stability replaces motivation as the driving force. Structure creates freedom, not limitation. When you know when to train, when to work, when to rest, mental energy is preserved. You are no longer pulled in multiple directions by impulses or moods. This clarity allows deeper focus. The mind quiets because it is no longer in charge of constant decision-making. It follows the framework you have established. Discipline also builds trust with yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is uncomfortable, you reinforce reliability. This self-trust is rare and valuable. Without it, confidence remains fragile and dependent on external validation. With it, confidence becomes internal and stable. You don't need to convince yourself you are capable. Your actions prove it repeatedly. Resistance never fully disappears, but discipline changes how you relate to it. Instead of negotiating, you acknowledge resistance and proceed anyway. This removes emotional drama from effort. Discomfort becomes a familiar companion rather than an obstacle. The mind learns that complaining does not change the outcome, and eventually it grows quieter. Discipline sharpens perception. When routines are consistent, you notice small deviations in energy, focus, and performance. This awareness allows adjustment before problems escalate. Without discipline, everything feels chaotic and unpredictable. With it, patterns become visible and improvement becomes intentional. There is also restraint within discipline, knowing when to stop, when to rest, when to say no. Discipline is not constant pushing, it is intelligent regulation. It prevents burnout by respecting limits while still demanding effort. This balance keeps progress sustainable. Over time, discipline reshapes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries, hopes, or plans. You become someone who acts consistently. This shift changes how others perceive you, and more importantly, how you perceive yourself. Life becomes less about managing emotions and more about executing principles. When discipline is internalized, external pressure loses power. You are no longer driven by deadlines, fear, or approval. You move because movement is aligned with who you are. The mind stops searching for shortcuts and accepts the process as non-negotiable, creating a sense of calm strength that does not depend on circumstance.